Hey guys, welcome to E-Man's Movie Reviews. I'm E-Man, and sometimes I'll listen to a song that I like repeatedly for an entire week until listening to it fills me with rage. This week I'm going to be reviewing the movie Knives Out, which was made in 2019 by Mr. Rian Johnson. Now, this movie was originally supposed to be released in 2015, but Johnson had multiple obstacles to tackle, which is why it took him 4 years to finally get it released. Back in 2014, when this movie was first being filmed, Johnson and Russell Crowe, who was cast as the lead actor at the time, kept getting into arguments and fights on set about the script and his character, and they even got into a physical altercation where Crowe ended up breaking Johnson's nose. Johnson couldn't handle Crowe's irrational behavior anymore and had Crowe fired. Then, after they recast his role, the movie went over budget and filming had to stop. Then, once Johnson was able to get the rest of the money to finish the movie, his grandmother became extremely ill and passed away, which caused him to go into a deep bout of depression, and he became somewhat of an alcoholic. After a failed suicide attempt, he went into rehab, and once he was out, he was ready to continue where he left off. Nobody wanted to continue making this movie without him, since this was basically his baby. So rather than finding a different director this whole time, the crew and actors all worked on other projects while waiting for him to return. Once he came back, they all got together once again and finally finished filming the movie. The last obstacle that he faced was with the editor, who wanted to cut the movie a completely different way than Johnson had originally intended. And so, he was forced to make a compromise in order to finish the movie and get it released. Finally, after all of the pain and suffering that Johnson went through, this movie made it into movie theaters and was well received by audiences as well as by critics. Knives Out is about the best chef in the world, played by Daniel Craig, who is extremely hardcore and intense in his cooking methods, which is why he's the best of the best. He is world-renowned and owns restaurants all across the globe, all of which have 3 Michelin stars because of the quality of the food and how it's prepared. After many years of hard work, he begins to develop a slight tremor in his hands, which he shrugs off at first. But then he starts to notice that it's getting worse and worse as time goes by. It starts to really interfere with his ability to cook. He goes to the hospital where he finds out that he has Parkinson's disease. Knowing that there's no cure, he realizes that his reign of being the best chef in the world is unfortunately over. However, he doesn't want his legacy to be forgotten, so he decides to create a cooking competition which will be televised, where the winner will be deemed the most worthy to take over his entire empire. Every chef around the world jumps at this opportunity, not realizing just how tough it will be. Aside from making Daniel Craig's most infamous dishes within a certain time limit, the food that they make will be judged, not only by Daniel Craig himself, but also by the world's top food critics, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, Michael Shannon, and Christopher Plummer, who are notorious for being almost impossible to please. One by one, chefs begin to get knocked out of the competition for either undercooking the food or overcooking the food, or just taking too long to prepare it, or simply not being able to please the critics who complain about the way that it looks or the way that it tastes. After an intense month of extreme eliminations, only one chef is left, played by Chris Evans, who is able to outperform every other chef in the entire competition with his finesse and intense passion for making food. But he hasn't won just yet. For his final challenge, Chris must make the most complicated dish on Daniel's menu. Chris makes it within record time, and all of the judges, including Daniel, are completely shocked when they eat it. It is the best thing that they've ever eaten in their entire lives, and they unanimously decide that Chris is the winner. He becomes the new best chef in the world and takes over Daniel's entire business. Daniel asks Chris how he was able to acquire the skills that he has, and Chris reveals that he is in fact Daniel's long-lost son, who has been cooking since he was just a child, always perfecting his abilities and constantly watching and learning from online videos that his father made on how to prepare meals the right way. When Chris found out about the competition, he knew that it would be the perfect opportunity to finally prove himself and earn his father's respect. Daniel starts to tear up, and they hug it out. And that's how the movie ends. I rate this movie a solid 8 out of 10. I thought this movie was really well done, despite all of the hardships that the director went through to make it. I enjoyed the cooking competition immensely, and seeing all of that delicious food being prepared really made me hungry. And I even had to pause the movie and get something to eat, because I was constantly salivating, and I was ruining my pants. The story was actually very interesting, and I think that Daniel Craig was definitely a much better choice for this character than Russell Crowe would have been. I wasn't expecting for the ending to be so heartwarming, but it was, and it got to me. I also respect that Johnson saw this movie through to the very end, because I know that it wasn't easy for him, and it really shows his commitment to his craft, which I greatly appreciate. He even released a special edition director's cut of this movie, and it's so much better than the original version that it makes me realize that the editor was truly a moron. That's the problem with the editors these days. They think that they're so entitled and that they know how to cut a movie better than anyone else. Look, going to film school doesn't automatically make you an expert at making movies, and that's a fact. So, if you guys haven't seen this movie, and you enjoy food as much as I do, then this movie will be perfect for you. This movie will inspire you to want to become a better cook, whether you are cooking for yourself or cooking for other people. And after watching this movie, I started watching some cooking shows, which is something that I've never been interested in doing before, but I wanted to learn how to get better at cooking and have different techniques that will improve my skills in the kitchen. I haven't actually used this knowledge yet, but I will, once I afford a bigger kitchen and acquire all of the right tools and equipment, which I've noticed is basically the secret to being able to make food taste really good. Who knew? And for those of you who've already seen this movie, then congratulations on spending thousands of dollars on cooking classes, because you want it to be as awesome as Daniel Craig and Chris Evans is in this movie. You know, I think it's great when a movie can be so impactful and influence people to chase their dreams, no matter how unattainable they may seem. Now, I'm not sure if Johnson intended for this movie to get people excited about cooking, but then again, maybe that's exactly what he intended. I honestly don't know. I've never talked to the guy, and he's never done an interview before, so it's still a mystery. But either way, I recognize and I appreciate his hard work, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of his movies in the future. As for now, well, there's a bowl of cereal in my kitchenette that has my name all over it. I'll see you guys next week.